All right, it is 7:01, so I am going to get started. Welcome, travelers. My name is Liz Schmidt. I am the Vice President of Property and Program for Girl Scouts of NYPENN Pathways. We are going to talk today about our mom and me trip to Paris and London, which I'm super excited to bring information to you for, so that you can have everything you need and hopefully sign up for this amazing trip. So we are going to have a full jam-packed agenda. If you have questions, pop them in the chat. And I will see about answering them as we go along in this presentation. So if you would like, please sign in using the QR code down below. Let me see, I had a request to pop the QR code in the chat, and let me see if I can just get this going here. Hello. I'm gonna stop share because it's not gonna let me do that if I'm sharing my screen. So hold on one second here, and I will pop that in the chat for you. Copy. Here we go, where's my chat? There we go. So you also can use that link in the chat if you prefer, over the QR code that I just had up on the screen. Let me get this back here. And reshare my screen. And here we go again. So as I mentioned, my name is Liz, VP of Property and Program, which means I'm in charge of all the camps and programs, highest awards, all the things that we do that are super fun here with Girl Scouts of NYPENN Pathways. So here's our agenda for the evening. So we already covered the introduction, which is amazing. We're going to be talking about EF Tours, who is our travel partner for this trip, the safety and support that they give us and provide for us on every trip that we've been on, what's included in the price that you'll be paying for this trip, our itinerary, and of course, how to enroll are the last few parts of our slideshow for tonight. So like I said, if you have questions or comments, please feel free to put them in the chat and I will get to them probably as we get a little bit closer to the end of this presentation. So feel free to sign in using the QR code, the link in the chat as well. So if I don't get to your question, I can be sure to address it in a follow-up email. So as we know, girls who travel the world become the women who change it. Here's just a few pictures of some of the places that we've been to. Girl Scouts of NYPENN Pathways has been traveling since 2022. We started going to Italy and Greece. We've been to Japan. We've been to the Galapagos Islands. We're going to Australia, Germany, Italy, Switzerland, and finally in 2028, we're going to Paris and London with mom and daughter pairs, or girls and their trusted adult female relation. We can go with that as well. So why do we travel? Because our mission is to build girls of confidence, courage, and character. These are just some of the things that folks who travel with us and with EF Tours talk about having learned along their trips. So obviously cultural competence. We get to experience other cultures, things that might be a lot different than ours. Leadership, you're inspired to take action on these trips. Take action in your community and the communities that we're visiting. And then, of course, talking to other girls about the things that you've experienced as well. And then confidence and self-discovery. I've seen girls change so much over the time that we've spent on some of these tours that it's just amazing to see folks grow the more we travel. Why do we partner with EF Tours? EF Tours stands for Education First. And like I said, I started traveling with EF way back in 2022. Actually, we were supposed to go on our Italy-Greece trip in 2020, but that was when the world changed and our trip got canceled. So throughout the whole COVID experience, EF was wonderful to work with. They postponed our trip, they locked in our price, and they did everything that they could to make sure that the trip, when we finally got to go on it in 2022, was just as awesome as we expected it to be in 2020. So this is a slide of where offices and employees of EF Tours are located throughout the world. They have folks that live in the communities and the countries that we visit. So they always have somebody on the ground. They have someone who knows exactly what the culture is and who can speak with locals and the local tour directors and all of those things so that we get the best experience we possibly can. They're also keeping their eye on things like safety and things that are happening in some of these countries that we travel to make sure that we are traveling to the safest places that we can be. So if you check out some of these bullet points here, they do support us locally. Obviously, our folks here are in the United States, and we work with them to provide the trips that we do, and worldwide, as I just explained. EF Safety and Incident Response Team is wonderful. I've had some incidences on tour, and the way that they respond is instantaneous and very thorough. For example, I had somebody miss a flight in Japan, and I was calling them at 3 o'clock in the morning to try to rebook the flight, and somebody answered the phone, which is rare. I think sometimes with organizations, there was someone on call at 3 o'clock in the morning to help us get that flight rebooked. So that was pretty cool. Rigorous health standards. This applied mostly during the COVID outbreak in 2020, but they're still keeping their finger on the pulse of health issues throughout the world, and especially the places that we travel. We have a 24/7 tour director with us on our trip. So they'll be with us traveling. They'll be staying in the hotels that we stay in. They'll be with us for the entirety of our trip. And we also have chaperones that support us as well. EF Tours, like I said, is education first. So they do provide various things, including high school and college credit. If your traveler is younger going on this trip, that probably won't apply. But they do focus on education. So your child is definitely going to learn something, and you will learn something as well by traveling with EF. And at some point, if you choose to travel with us even further beyond 2028, this is great on high school sort of, I don't know, high school things, high school transcripts, and we'll help also with a college essay and getting into college and doing all those fun things that kids do. So this is my favorite part. You can book with confidence. They have a peace of mind program. If something happens, if something kind of goes awry, let's say there's a natural disaster or something, EF has us covered, and they'll work with us to rebook our trip, to change our trip, to make sure that we get an experience that we are comfortable with. They also have risk-free enrollment period, which is wonderful. If you're watching this presentation and you think to yourself, yes, I totally want to go on this trip, and you sign up for it today, and then tomorrow you're like, oh, maybe not. I'm taking a look at my bank statement and I don't think I can do it. You have 7 days after this meeting to get a full refund of any money that you paid to EF. And that's only $95. You actually only need $95 to enroll for this trip to save your spot, but you'll get all of that back within 7 days. We also provide, and is included with the price of your trip, global travel protection for all travelers. So it's coverage for things like lost baggage and property, trip cancellations, trip interruptions. There's a variety of things that this covers. Like I said, that's included in the price of this trip, so you don't have to pay any extra. If you choose to have extra protection, you always can purchase it at an additional $400. And that is just, it covers everything. It literally covers everything. I will send you a link to look into these things if you choose to, but the base global travel protection is included with the price of this trip, just so you know. Like I said, the cancellation fee within 7 days of enrollment is $0, so you'll get all your money back. The nice thing about a new system that they have in place is that up to a year prior to departure, if you're enrolled in the global protection plan, which you are because it's included in the price of this trip, you will get everything back except for that $95. You can find additional details if you are interested on our tour enrollment page, but I think that's a pretty good protection of investment that EF has started rolling out. So let's talk about the actual trip. That's what you're here for, right? We're going to London and Paris. So we're spending 9 days there. This is summer of 2028. This is a mother-daughter/girls trip, okay? So any girls and their special trusted female adults can go on this trip. So if you have a favorite aunt, if your grandma wants to go, your mom, any lady that you want to go with you in your life is more than welcome to go with us on this trip. So here's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be flying into England, and we're going to be taking some tours. We're going to be touring Canterbury. We're going to visit the cathedral that is located there. You can see in that gorgeous picture there. We're going to be visiting the Westgate Tower Museum and Gardens, and this is going to be taking place in July, mind you. So England is hopefully not going to be that gray, rainy place that we all picture it to be. It's going to be vibrant and beautiful with lush gardens and hopefully a little bit of sun, but we'll see. It still is England while we're there. So after we visit some of the cathedrals and castles and beautiful gardens a little bit north of the city, we're going to be traveling to London. We're going to take a walking tour of the city. London is a very walkable place. I was just there in November of this past year, and we walked everywhere, and it was amazing. We're going to be exploring London with our local guide. So we're going to be taking a look at things like Big Ben and Parliament and Buckingham Palace. Hopefully we'll get to see the changing of the guard if that's scheduled, and we're going to keep our fingers crossed that it will be. Harrods is a giant department store that's always gussied up for Christmas. Talk about like posh, right? We may be able to visit that. We're going to see all the sights of London, everything that you'll want to see. The streets are crowded with double-decker buses, which is the norm over there, which is a pretty cool thing. We're also going to be doing an afternoon tea. So if you're not familiar with afternoon tea, it is like a kind of a cool snacky situation. We did afternoon tea when we were in London in November with my family, and it's all kinds of like finger foods and tea and hot cocoa and cookies and cakes and just delightful, awesome, wonderful things. We're going to get dressed up, gussied up, and go have afternoon tea. We're also going to take a guided tour of Windsor Castle, which is lovely. And it's very, very castle-like. I don't know how else to describe it. It's just kind of a super cool, really old castle. And we're going to visit the British Museum. So if you're a fan of British culture, that's what we're going to be getting up to while we're in London. We will also have some free time while we're there. So if you want to do some shopping, if there are things in London that you want to see and do while we're there that are not on the itinerary, we'll have time to do that. So before our trip, we'll be in touch with our tour director, who's going to be leading us throughout this adventure. And we'll let them know exactly what we want to do and experience while we're in London. And it's their job to try to make it happen as best they can. So on day 6, the coolest thing is happening. We're going to be hopping on a train and going to Paris. And if you know your geography, you'll know that we're going to be headed through the Channel. So there's a tunnel that goes under the English Channel from London to Paris, and we're going to go on it. It's so cool. I don't know, it's kind of weird to say, but I feel like that might be like the thing I'm looking forward to most about this. Cause like, I don't know, it's a super cool feat of engineering. Don't think too much about it though. I guess maybe, there are lots of other things to look forward to, but I'm looking forward to going in the Channel. Once we get through the Channel, we are going to end up in Paris. And Paris is an amazing, also very walkable, gorgeous city. So we're going to be taking a tour of the Latin Quarter. That's where all these little shops and artisans are. Your typical like guy with the accordion playing La Vie en Rose and the cats walking around and all that jazz. We're going to be visiting the Louvre. You can see it in the picture there with that pyramid, the glass pyramid that's over the top of it. In the Louvre are all sorts of crazy things. There's sculptures and there's paintings and there's various art. Fun fact though, I think there's one Monet in the Louvre. I'm going to keep saying it like that, just FYI. And it's none of his famous stuff. It's in a totally different museum, the Museum d'Orsay, I think is where all the Monets are. So I have been to Paris before, and I went to the Louvre, and I spent a lot of time running around trying to find the Monets, and there aren't any there. So don't get your hopes up to see any Monets at the Louvre. That's not where they are. But during free time, there is a possibility that we could visit the Museum d'Orsay, which is where the Monets are. We're going to be exploring Paris with a local expert. So that's a local person who lives there and hopefully, fingers crossed, speaks French, who's going to be taking us around the city so that we can visit iconic places like the Arc de Triomphe, which you can see in that picture, the Eiffel Tower, Notre Dame Cathedral, all of the things that you think of when you think of Paris, we're going to see. We're also going to enjoy a Seine River cruise. So this is a boat that has an open top, and we kind of make this big loop throughout Paris. The last time I was there, we did this at night, and it was wonderful to see the city lit up with the Eiffel Tower, with all the lights on it and the glitter. And there's a big spotlight that kind of goes around, and it's absolutely gorgeous. So not sure if our Seine River cruise is going to be during the day. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, and we'll put a request in so that it will be at night when the city is all lit up and it's gorgeous. Our last day, the most exciting part of it, is going to be a full day at Disneyland Paris. So I've never been to Disneyland in the United States. I don't know what that experience is like. So I'm also really looking forward to Disneyland Paris. I have been to Disneyland in Tokyo. And when I was there, I was like, I don't think I could ever go to Disneyland in America because it was so awesome. Like, that's all I know of it. So I'm really excited to see what Disneyland Paris is. I think I can honestly say that I don't know if I'll ever get to Disneyland or Disney World here in the US, but if I can continue to go to one somewhere else in the world, I'll definitely do that. So the other thing is yes, it's all going to be in French. Disneyland in Tokyo was all in Japanese, but I didn't really notice because if you're a fan of Disney and you know Disney, you can kind of imagine what's happening regardless of what language they're speaking. So I was super excited to go to Paris. I'm noticing right now that in these pictures, they don't have the Palace of Versailles listed. We do have a half-day trip in this tour to go to Versailles. And that's this grand palace just a little bit outside of Paris. You may know someone called Marie Antoinette and King Louis. That's where they lived. It's very, very posh. There's gorgeous gardens and fountains. The Hall of Mirrors is there. Everything is like golden. It's a really, really beautiful place to visit. I've only ever been there in the winter time, so I'm excited to be going in the summer when the gardens are in full bloom. So that's another beautiful thing to do. When I've been there in the past, there have been girls dressed in beautiful like ball gown type dresses who are like taking selfies for their Instagram and just hanging out in the Hall of Mirrors and just being a beautiful princess for the day. So that is more than welcome on this trip. There'll be plenty of opportunities for you to dress up. High tea in England, I'm sorry, in London, and then of course the Palace of Versailles in Paris. So that is our itinerary. And I did talk about most of these highlights here. The dressing up, of course, Buckingham Palace. Those are the dudes with the big fur hat. I don't know what they're made out of, like bear maybe, or couldn't be a mink. Mink are pretty small. I don't know. Those big, tall hats. That's the changing of the guard at Buckingham Palace, Versailles, the Louvre, Eiffel Tower, and all of those things. So that's a basic overview of our trip. And like I said, we'll have a tour director that we'll be in touch with before our trip. So if there is anything that you want to see that's not listed on this itinerary, we can always work with our tour director and see about doing those things as well. Don't forget the food. It's my favorite part. All of these things are delicious. The macarons, not macaroons, macarons down on the right side there. There's going to be fish and chips in London. Those up on the left side there with the bananas, that's a crepe in Paris, and it has banana, and I guarantee that's Nutella in there as well. And the crepes are absolutely delicious. Croissants, you may have had a croissant here in the United States and thought it was pretty good. Once you get your mouth around a croissant in Paris, you're never going to want to have another one. So that's exciting. They have lots of delicious things there. And then up in the upper right hand, you can see the full English breakfast with some eggs and some bacon and sausages and some beans and all the stuff they put in there. The one thing I'll say that I never ever eat in a full English is the black pudding. If you know, you know, black pudding is pretty gross. I've tried it because you always have to try things when you go on some of these trips, but look it up. You can Google it and figure out what it is. I would not recommend, but you should try it if you've never had it. So there you go. So our travel dates, this is our requested dates here. And I always say requested because we are 4 years out from this trip, almost. So you never know what's going to happen. So this is sort of a window in time. So we could leave as early as July 22nd, and we could return as late as August 5th. But I have requested July 25th through August 2nd to be our tour dates, and it's a 9-day tour. So I always like to say, like, try not to plan like a trip to do a soccer tournament, the day we get back, or your sister's wedding, the weekend that we leave or whatever. You want to make sure that you leave that little window of time. EF provides this window for us so that they can get the best pricing and the best deals on tickets and things like that. So we usually get confirmed 2 to 3 months before our tour. For our 2025 tour, we were confirmed about a month ago, and we got our requested dates. So we are traveling as a private group, so we are not going to be paired with any other girl groups or any other like student groups or anything like that. So that's a nice thing to know. What's included in our itinerary and what's included in the price that I'm going to talk about in a few slides here. Pretty much everything: round trip airfare, hotel stays, The meals, breakfast and dinner, and sometimes lunches are included as well, depending on where we are and what we're doing. Like I said, we'll be assigned a tour director who's going to be with us 24/7. That person's going to speak French. So if you're not well versed in French and you're a little bit nervous about it, it is okay, because our tour director not only will speak French, but they'll probably teach us a little bit of French to get by as well. Private transportation is included, and that includes the train, the Eurostar through the Channel. It includes coach buses. So it's not your typical, school bus transportation. It's a very comfortable coach bus. Train tickets, bus tickets, anything we need to get around is included. Local guides, these are people that are going to live where we're going. So for example, at Windsor Castle, we'll probably have a local guide who lives there, and that's their job. And they're going to tell us everything that we need to know about Windsor Castle. So stuff like that. Guided sightseeing and entrances to landmarks and attractions. So if we do end up going to, let's say, high tea, that's all included. It's paid for. High tea is typically a lunch kind of meal. So that will be included in our pricing as well. What you are responsible for, the things that EF does not pay for, is any sort of passport and visa if applicable. So I can tell you now that we are going to need a visa or an entry to get into the United Kingdom and probably into France as well. And the United Kingdom is not part of the European Union. So it'll be two different things. The one to get into the United Kingdom is like an extra $10. And I don't know what the one to the European Union is, but it's probably about that as well. So your passport, and then probably an extra $20 or $25 to deal with the visas. Baggage fees, if you've traveled with me before, and you will be traveling with me on this trip, you will know that I do carry-on only, at least to get there. So you can do it. I'll teach you how to do it. It sounds scary, but I promise you, you can travel for 9 days with carry-on only. And the only reason that I say that is because if you lose your bag, our trip isn't that long and you'll be without for the whole trip, and it will be very sad for you. So trust me, but I'm going to teach you how to do it. On the way back, though, it's a free-for-all. I've had people purchase I did it myself when I was in Japan. Then I shoved a whole bunch of Japanese souvenirs in it, and I checked it on the way home. It got lost, and I didn't see it in Syracuse for like 4 days after it, but it didn't matter because I was going home and I have my own clothes at home. So if you do check a bag on the way home and shove it full of Parisian, I don't even know what you buy in Paris. Coffee? No. Tea? No, that's England. Crepes? Whatever. Anything you purchase and you want to check home, you are more than welcome to do it, but the fees are on you. Tips for local guides, bus drivers, and our tour director. So typically I collect, we have a meeting right before we go, and I usually collect US dollars for this type of tipping. And it's generally between $100 and $120 per person that I collect. So I will be handing out to the bus drivers and to the tour director and to any local guides throughout our trip. EF usually has a guide or for a local guide, it's like $2 per person per local guide. And that all gets added up and I collect it before we go. It's my job to convert it to the local currency, which I will do. And then I will hand it out to the folks as we go. Lunches and snacks. This is so what happens on these trips is lunches are typically on our own. And it's a great time for you to try weird and new things that you have never had before, and or that other people might not want to try with you. Right? I guess I'll say it like that. For example, I really wanted to eat boar when we went to Italy, and boar is like a wild pig. I don't know. I just wanted to eat one. And I ended up doing that. We went and found a restaurant in Italy who served boar, and I ate it, and it was delicious. Another person on the trip really wanted to try rabbit. So we found a restaurant that served rabbit, and she had that, and it was really delicious for her. So lunch is a great time for you to branch out and try new things. They also have crazy, weird, and wacky snacks over there as well. I loved the snacks that I was trying to find in England when I was in London. They have crazy stuff. Pringles is a thing over there. They have shrimp or prawn flavored Pringles, paprika flavored Pringles. They have all kinds of weird stuff, and they're delicious. So you'll definitely need money for that, and then spending money. And this is for souvenirs. These are the things that you're gonna, if you want to bring tea back from London, if you want to bring what do we buy in Paris? I have no idea. Chris, what do we buy in Paris? What kind of things? I don't even know. Perfume? Perfume! They do perfume in Paris. How about that? If you find some perfume that you want to bring in Paris, you'll need spending money for that. I have no idea. I can't. Oh, a beret. You could get a beret. Those are pretty cheap though. Anyways, there you go. I will have make a special note about rooming. So typically on these tours for EF, it's set up so that adults room with adults and girls room with girls. It's just the way it goes. I don't know why they do it this way. I think it's like the whole make new friends situation. A lot of hotel rooms in Europe also they tend to have like 3 or 4 or 5 sometimes beds per room. Unless you request that they don't, which is weird. It's kind of cool though, especially like if you think of it in like a kind of a sleepover way. So here's what could happen. I personally think this is a win-win for any mom or adult who goes on this trip. I always request a single room because at the end of a long day, I just want to be by myself and not talking to anyone, and just like go to my bed. So you can do this any number of ways if you go on this trip. If you want to get some adult time, and you have a friend that's going with you on this trip, an adult friend, or if you want to make a new adult friend, you are more than welcome to request rooming with another adult. You'll get some adult time, and your kiddo is going to be in another room with a bunch of kids their own age, and they can have a super fun slumber party while they're there. That's what I would recommend. You can also upgrade to a mom and me room. That's a twin room with 2 beds. That's $90 per hotel night. So it'll be $630 extra to do that. Moms, if you want to upgrade to a single room, like I said, I always do that. That is $630, $90 per night. Same to upgrade to a twin. And then there are family rooms. So if you are a mom or an adult lady and you're bringing 2 of your kids on this trip, you can upgrade to a family room for free. If you are coming as like mom and your best friend and your daughter, that could be a family room as well. And so that's a free upgrade too. So just want to be transparent about the rooming before you sign up for this trip and get into it. Slumber party, single room, whatever floats your boat. So this is pretty much what happens with rooming as we go. Girls don't have to be in the same room every single time with other girls. So for example, one night we might have rooms with 4 beds in them. And then the next night we might move to another hotel and have a hotel with like 5 beds in it. So we'll switch folks up as it goes. But it's okay because by the end of this trip, we're all going to be besties and it's going to be amazing. So there we go. All right. So this is the thing that everyone wants to know, right? How much is this trip going to cost you? So the reason that we're doing this so far in advance is the first 2 pieces of this slide here. $64 biweekly, $128 a month for the next couple of years here to get you to go on this trip. So if you want to pay in full, it's $51.89 for the girls to pay. We recommend doing the automatic payments. So you would sign up for an automatic payment of $128 a month, comes out every month for 40 months until you're paid in full. If you want to do a manual payment plan, that is an option as well. There are extra fees, I think, for a manual plan. And also it ends a little bit earlier. So it'll end like the March before we go, whereas the automatic payment just keeps going. So you do want to be on top of that manual payment. So for girls to go on this trip, it is $51.89. And remember, that includes pretty much everything. You will be getting a $300 discount if you register for this trip today, tomorrow, I think until March 31st, actually. But that's on another slide coming up. So we'll check that out in just a second. Adults are a little bit more. Uh-oh, what's that thing that popped up? Oh, that's the manual. Okay. Adults are slightly more expensive, mostly because entrance to places and like tickets for adults on things like the Eurostar and things like that are just a little bit more expensive. So for an adult on this trip, it's $59.19. That's $146 per month in order to travel on this trip. So what was that? 146 plus 128. So for a mom and a daughter pair to go on this trip, it'd be about $274 per month until 2028 for us to go on this trip. So making it happen. So you are getting that $300 discount for anyone who signs up before 3/31. EF does offer scholarships, and it's a pretty easy application process if your kiddo needs a scholarship in order to go on this trip. There is a customizable tour donation page, which is my favorite part here. Anyone can donate, anyone can contribute. This is the thing, when I was thinking about taking my kiddos on a trip, I would send this page link to their grandma and their uncle, and anyone who wanted to give them Legos for literally any holiday or birthday. I was like, please, no more Legos in my house. If you could just donate the cost of that Lego set to their trip to London, that would be fantastic. So, as kiddos get older, there's only so many Lego sets you can get before you just want to, I don't even know, sell them on eBay when no one's looking, I guess. But this is a great way for folks to give a gift to your child or to you even, with your tour donation page. And then last but not least, of course, it's Girl Scout cookie season. So you're here, which means you're Girl Scouts. So selling cookies, you'll have 26, 7, 8, 3 cookie seasons and 4 fall product sales before this trip happens. We do travel booths for anyone who travels with us. I have specific booths that I set for travelers. We typically earn the maximum amount per box for travelers because we opt out of rewards. You also can be a part of your traditional troop. So if you're active in your traditional troop and you sell cookies for them and you do activities with your traditional troop, you can also sell cookies for the travel troop. So you can choose to do both, and it doesn't hurt your traditional troop, and it earns you money towards travel as well. Experience credits can also be used towards these trips. So that's another thing. We want to make it affordable for folks to be able to go on these trips as much as we can. So there's that. So I'm going to check the chat here real quick for questions and see what I can answer. Well, I'm here. Oh, the Eurostar. Oh my gosh, April. I'm so excited. You work for the company that built that train. I feel like that might be the thing I'm looking forward to most. I'm such a nerd. Don't tell anyone. July 22nd is your birthday, 27th. Yay, digital camera, yes. What if you have a European passport? I don't know. I don't think that's going to be a problem. I think it's going to be awesome because you already have one. It'd be great. Do you have a US one? I don't know. I'm going to have to probably touch base with you outside of this for that. Cash, or can you use a debit card? You don't need cash. I went to both Paris and London over the past couple of years, and I got way too much cash, and I still have it upstairs in my room. I didn't use cash as much as I thought I would. And in fact, a lot of places didn't take cash. We went to the Borough Market in London, and I made sure to have extra cash because I was like, it's a market, like a farmer's market, right? Like, of course, they're not going to take credit card. Not a single vendor took cash. They didn't want it. They all had those little squares to tap the card. And that's the only way that they were taking. Even like I bought like a churro, and the churro guy would not take cash. He only wanted card. So I would say that if you can find yourself a card that has very low or no international fees, that's the best way to go. A little cash is good, but you don't really need it. So the pricing is per person, as I said before, but I think you saw that, Catherine. I think you got that on the 2 slides there. There we go. Travel cookie sales. So travel cookie sales, as I mentioned, as I'm technically the troop cookie person for my travel troop. So I get the cookies. What I generally do is I send out an email that says, hey, let me know if you want to sell cookies to earn money towards your trip and where you want to sell them. So if you have a Walmart near you that you want to sell them at, great. If you have a Joann Fabric, oh no, Joann's rip, sorry, no more Joann's. Tractor Supply, or literally anywhere that we sell cookies. As the troop cookie person, I will go into eBuddy, and based on where you want to sell your cookies, I'm going to get that booth for you. I'll give you the cookies and some deposit slips. You go, you sell the cookies, you do the deposit. Any extra cookies you have, you can give back to me, and I will take them back to the travel troop, their inventory, or you can try to keep selling them, to whoever, and do that. So I'm really flexible with my cookies and the way that we sell them, only because This isn't like a troop where everybody's like in the Syracuse area and the troop meets at the local church every Sunday and, we're close to each other. I can have travelers from Ogdensburg, up near the Canadian border, all the way down into Pennsylvania. So we have to be a little bit more flexible when folks are selling cookies for the travel troop. So we try to make it as easy as possible. And like I said, you can choose to sell for both your traditional troop and the travel troop. They don't hurt each other when you're selling cookies. It's totally up to you. So there's some questions about downtime. There will be free time and downtime. Not sure exactly when that'll be incorporated. As we get a little bit closer to the trip, we'll know. So a lot of times it's during the lunch hour. So we'll do a tour of something in the morning, say like we go to Windsor Castle in the morning and we meet with a local guide and we tour around and see all the things. And then our tour director will say, all right, now it's free time. It's 11 o'clock, have lunch, have free time, do your shopping, meet back here at 2 p.m. We're gonna hop on the bus and go do another thing. So it's usually right around lunchtime, and we usually have between 2 and 3 or so hours for free time. So lots of time to get things done and to plan ahead. I'm going to send out this question as our leader is going to have information to look over. Yep, I'm going to send out an email after this, which is going to have the recording, and it's going to have links and the tour page and all of the things in it. The $300 discount is per person, and that was reflected in the price on the slide that I showed you. The fundraising for cookies, yes, it would only go towards the girls' fee. So the girls will be selling the cookies and doing the fall product. So it would only go towards the girls' fee. Does that preclude adults from doing fundraising on their own? Not necessarily. So the council sales, only girls can do it. But for example, if you are a really good artisan and you make beautiful bracelets and you want to open an Etsy shop and sell them for your trip, you're more than welcome to do that. I don't think there's a whole lot of rules about adults fundraising on their own. If you are a great cook and your church will let you use the basement and you want to do a fish fry fundraiser or whatever for your trip, that's perfectly fine. The minimum age for girls is going to be 8 at the time of travel. So if you have an 8-year-old by July 25th, 2028, they're eligible to go on this trip. I will tell you that the pace of the trips are typically pretty fast paced. I brought my 8-year-old to London on an EF tour and he was exhausted. It's a pretty intensive trip, and I don't think I prepared him enough for the amount of walking, frankly, that he was going to be doing. Although to be fair, we live in Syracuse, and Syracuse isn't a super walkable place to be. So I don't think he was prepared for that. But we'll talk a lot about the pace of the trip, and we'll try to get out there and move around a little bit and do all that sort of thing before. The girls can do individual fundraisers. That's another question that we have, like a bake sale or donation drives. Absolutely, but you do have to participate in the council fundraisers in order to do fundraising for the Girl Scouts. You can always email me as well if you have more questions about that. 2 adults can absolutely go with 1 girl, like a grandma and mom and daughter, absolutely. And that would be a family room, so that would be your 2 adults and 1 girl there. If a Girl Scout is no longer a Girl Scout by 2028, that's a great question. You do have to be a Girl Scout by the time you go on, or when you go on this trip. So your membership will have to be valid in 2028 in order to go on the trip. Dietary restrictions can absolutely be accommodated. That's when we talk to our tour director and they talk to all the restaurants, they make our reservations, and they make sure that dietary restrictions are being accommodated. I've traveled with all kinds of people with severe nut allergies. I went to Japan with somebody who was allergic to seaweed. And we made it work. So if we can make that work, I think we can make pretty much everything work. And definitely vegan, no animal products. Yep. Unfortunately, no discounts if you're taking the 2 daughters. The price is what was there. The cost does include admission to Disneyland Paris. So that's part of it. Abbey Road might be a little bit far for us to go. That's a direct message for me. Airfare is included. Yes. And then cookie money. So cookie money will get credited if you're paying per month. Basically, what will happen is when the cookie sale is over, at the end of the cookie sale, I keep track of who sells what. here on my little spreadsheet that I have, and I do a check rec and I pay EF directly for anything that you earn. So you'll just let me know, hey, you know, here's the deposit slip, copy of it, etc. And I will reconcile that with the council, and then I will write a check directly to EF to be applied for your trip. If you have extra money at the end, EF will actually provide you with a refund of any extra money. I've had a lot of girls sell cookies, sell more than what was allocated, and I've sent payments to EF, and then they end up having a negative balance. And the money, like I said, will get paid directly from EF back to you. You'll get a refund for that. The airfare will probably be from Syracuse. We have had good luck traveling from Syracuse before. Trying to arrange transportation to New York City for everyone from all over the council is a little bit harder. So airfare is going to be from Syracuse, New York. How much is raised per box? $1.05 right now. And that probably won't change, although this is, you know, 4 years from now, so who knows, but $1.05 per box. It's what is raised for the travel troop. Let's see what else. 95 deposit for mom and girls. Yes, 95 deposit per person. So that's a 95 per person to save your spot. The troop does send, the money will go directly to EF for fall sales as well. Yep, for the TRM. And if you experience credits, I know there's a jot form on the website that says, like, how do you want to use your experience credits? If you're a Juliet, same thing. How do you want to apply your Juliet funds? We can apply that directly to your EF tour so that we can just pay down your balance as you're earning. How do I send the money to EF? I send them a check from council. So it'll be a check to EF Tours directly, and I have your child's name on it and their account number so that they know to apply it to the right person. And it usually gets applied within a couple of weeks of me sending it. You do not have to choose. You can sell for both your troop and your travel troop. You will talk to your troop leader and, you know, talk to them about what you want to sell for the troop. And then you'll talk to me, as this is considered a specialty troop. The travel troop is. So you'll work directly with me to sell for the travel troop. And then if your troop has requirements, your traditional troop does, you'll work with the troop leader to figure that as well. All sales can go towards the trip, but you'll have to chat, I think, with your troop leader about that and what that would look like. There is a way to still earn incentives if you do cookie sales. You can do cookie sales with your traditional troop. And depending on how your troop allocates those funds, you can have your troop allocate the funds to EF for you. We've had people do that in the past, and that way you can still earn rewards and incentives. If you want to do it directly through me, that's a thing as well. The price will not be impacted, Amy, depending on who signs up for what. When you sign up for this trip right now, if you sign up using your $95 deposit, the price is locked in. It's not going to change no matter who goes on this trip. So that's not going to be an issue. Oh, you are the troop leader. Okay. The price per person, let me see. Does it say on the next slide here? No, it doesn't. How will we send the money? Can you, Julie, can you unmute yourself?
Yep. Hi. Hi.
Hi. So do you mean,
no, I just wanted
like if your daughter earns cookie money, do you mean, like, how will that be sent?
no, I mean the money, like, say I want to do the $95, but I don't have it tonight, but I want to do it on Friday when I get paid. So I'd like to know how I can send the money in to secure our trip. Where do I send it? Do I send it through using my debit card, or
Yes.
does it
Yep.
be
So
money
you
order?
absolutely can. So you're going to be doing, you would do it right through. I'm going to stop my share here real quick so I can see.
Okay.
You're going to do it right through that QR code. Actually, I'm lying. I'm not going to stop my share because it's like, do it through this code, this thing, but you cannot see it anymore. So hold on.
Okay.
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 So There's the QR code. So that's the link. So that's the enrollment page. So if you're thinking about going and you want to wait till Friday, you would just use that, scan the QR code, or use that link. And I'm going to set out an email with this recording and everything in it so that you'll have it. So if you do want to register on Friday, you can just use that link and use your debit card to enroll. And like I said, you'll have 7 days between now and when, like if you sign up today, you'll have 7 days to, get your money back. Just in case, if you want to save your spot and then you're like, can't do it. I know it's expensive. And it's an expensive trip. It's an investment to be sure. But like I said, that's why we are doing this so far in advance to try to cut those monthly payments down. And then also to make sure that you have enough time, if you are, someone who likes to sell cookies and do the fall product, that you'll have enough time to do some of those sales to help pay down. I every year have one girl specifically who travels with me. I think she's going on her 3rd trip with us now. She earns, gosh, I think she pays $1,000, $1,500 every cookie sale that she does towards this trip. So that's 4 times $1,500 is the trip essentially. So we want to make sure that we give you guys enough time to prepare.
Okay.
Let's see. $95. Thank you, Julie, for that. So $95 per person to reserve your spot. And like I said, you have 7 days risk-free. If you just want to reserve your spot now, just because, you certainly can. And then if you cancel within the next 7 days, you'll get it back. We have, like I said, I think in the previous slide, guaranteed 30 spots. So those are, 1 parent, 1 child. If we need to, if we have more people interested, we can open up a second bus as well. So we'll see if we get to that. But for now, we've got 30 spots. How do we know how much our daughter has made per fall and cookie sale? For fall, you already should have gotten that information if she participated in the 2024 sale. If she's participating in a cookie sale now, I think cookies are open for another 2 weeks or so. March 30th is the last day of the cookie sale. So you should know pretty shortly thereafter how much your kiddo has made during that sale. Just talk to your troop leader, I think, or your cookie coordinator to see. Oh, you are the leader. How many cookies have you sold? Yes, so I'm going to be sending out an email after this with the recording, with all this information, the link to the enrollment page to anyone who said they wanted more information but couldn't attend, everyone who's here right now, everyone who's not here who said they could attend, and you can forward it along to anyone who you want to. So that's hopefully that answers your question, Monica. So unless you have any other questions, that's all the information I have for you tonight. So like I said, let me go back real quick to this slide here, if I can. For a girl, it's $51.89 for the trip, $128 monthly payments. For adults to go on this trip, it's a little bit more expensive. Adults tend to be more expensive, $59.19 to go on the trip. Adults do not have to be a registered Girl Scout to go on this trip. Girls do, and the reason for that is because Girl Scouts are covered under a variety of insurances when they're Girl Scouts, including international trip insurance through Wells Fargo, including this trip insurance and all the things. Adults will be going through a background check as we get a little bit closer. Typically, overnights and trips like this require adults to be registered Girl Scouts so that they can be insurance covered and also background checked. But EF Tours does its own background check for any adult that goes on these trips. So we don't have to have that covered by Girl Scouts or GSUSA. So adults don't have to be registered Girl Scouts. Girls do have to be registered Girl Scouts to go on the trip. So the $300 is already removed from that pricing. So this pricing includes the $300 discount for coming to this and for enrolling before March 31st. $95 to save your spot per person. There will definitely be instructions on how to get the visa. It's a very easy process. In 2025, this upcoming summer, I'm going to London with Girl Scouts. We're going with about 35 Girl Scouts to England, Ireland, and Wales. And so I will be very well versed in getting whatever sort of thing we need. I think it's just an easy like app on your phone, and you fill it out and you pay your 11 euro or whatever, and they are like, cool, and they let you in. I'm hoping, fingers crossed. I don't know. I have to do it like next month, so I will let you know, but I think it's pretty easy. I think it's a pretty easy thing to do. So, all right. So feel free to, I'm actually going to drop in the chat here, my email address. And I think that's on the last, is it on there? Oh, there it is. It's on the last slide. You can still see my slides, right? Yeah. So that is my email address. My name is Liz. Once again, if you missed that part, can I talk and type at the same time? No, I cannot. That's my email address. So if you want to, feel free to email me about this trip specifically. You can email me at that email address below. Maggie would be the EF person. So if you have, I know there were questions about like, can we make our own airfare arrangements? You can. Maggie would be the person to talk to about that. We also occasionally do like go ahead or stay behind. So if you want to, extend your trip and visit Brussels, or go to Rome after this or whatever, you can absolutely do that, and EF will make that arrangement for you to fly out of that gateway on the way home. Or if you want to go ahead, if you have family who lives in Liverpool and you want to fly into Liverpool and visit your family for a couple of days and then meet us in London, that's a thing. You can absolutely do that. That would be questions for Maggie. So Maggie's at the bottom there, Maggie Lenahan at EF.com. You can certainly email her about stuff like that. But if you have any general questions, cookie sales, TRM, treats, reason more, etc., feel free to email me. If we set up an auto pay, can we also do manual pay? Yes, you absolutely can. You can do auto pay, you can do manual pay, you can mix and match, you can do all sorts of things. And that's typically how it would work if I'm allocating money from council for cookies to you as well. It just goes in as like an additional payment. At some point, I feel like it chunks down your auto pay, right? So like you'll be like paying $128 this month, and then if I send a payment in, you might be paying like $124 the next month or whatever, just to sort of catch up with it. I don't know, it's math. It'll work. I promise. Right, so that's all I've got for you tonight. I hope you want to come with me. I think it's going to be an amazing trip. The really nice thing about these trips, the thing that I love, is that it's all done for us, right? It seems expensive. I'm not sure I could travel any other way. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to think about flights. You don't have to think about hotels. You really don't even have to think about food. They're just going to give it to you. So if that's something that's appealing to you, and it certainly is to me, sign up, come with me. It's going to be amazing. We're going to have an amazing time. And I can't wait to visit London and Paris with you and your tiny child who will be 4 years older at the time of this trip. So have a great night. Feel free to sign up. Email me if you have any questions. I look forward to chatting with you more. And when you get the email, feel free to forward on to anyone who you might think would be interested. So have a great night. Take care. And I'll see you in London. Just kidding. I'll see you before that, but hopefully I'll see you in London. Have a great night, everybody. Bye. Thank you. Take care.